From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, Corner Pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Warchant After Dark, Wake Up Warchant live right here on YouTube. What is up, everybody? We are live, and we are presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com is the website. Coming up on today's show, taking your questions here live on YouTube, as well as some practice observations and lamenting the fate of the baseball team, maybe just for a smidge moment, so we don't want to ruin the good vibes that will get going on here. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Come out Friday, 3 o'clock. We'll probably all be, 4 o'clock. Corey's giving me the hand signal. After the JCS Warchant golf tournament. So we'll all be hanging out up there. So come hang out for that.
Well, I should say we'll probably be there at 3, but the live show won't start until 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saturday, Hotel Indigo. Doors open 12:30-ish. Come hang out 1 to 3 o'clock pregame show. And there'll be a postgame show as well with Tom Lang and Gene Williams. Check that out. Tomorrow, we'll have a live recruiting chat with Michael Langston. We're also going to have Sam Spiegelman of On3 join us, get the lowdown on Destin Hill, the unicorn hunter. So we'll have that as well. Jeff Cameron Show live throughout the week. We got you guys ready, and gals, as we get ready for the spring game. And since we are live, we're also brought to you by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, Warchant BOGO. Check out that promo code. Use it. Shake it and take it. Corey, how are you?
I'm good, man. Been kind of a long day. I had to scramble to get back. It seemed like the after practice interviews went for a long time. So didn't get home quite when I wanted to. Had to knock out some observations, and now I'm looking at your pretty face again. So it feels good.
Well, Mike Norvell had to rub elbows with some with one Dallas Cowboy legend and another former Dallas Cowboy. So that's what
Correct.
took a minute or two to get the interviews done. Jason Garrett looks like he could still probably play. He looks like he could still probably get open on 3rd and 6.
Jason Witten, you mean? Jason Garrett could not get open.
Oh, yeah, Jason Witten.
Yeah.
Sorry. All the Jasons.
Jason Garrett could coach you to a 9-8 record. Just throwing that out there, big guy. No, but so Jason Garrett and Jason Witten were out there, which was cool. And so, Norvell, I would guess, talked to Witten for, I don't know, man, 15 minutes after practice, probably 10 or 15 minutes. That was kind of cool. I mean, it was cool Jason Witten's going to be a Hall of Famer. It was cool that he was there watching practice, and Garrett talked to the team. Man, it was interesting days at Florida State practices.
All right, let's share some practice observations. We feel good about Johnny Wilson, who's the number 2 guy. We don't know. Seems like we saw a lot of Deuce Spann, a lot of Kentron Portier. I don't know if that was like by design or anything catch your eye when it came out to some of the personnel they were running with the wide receivers.
Yeah, I think at this point of the spring, and again, things are subject to change as we get to August, and the portal is still the portal, but I think 88 is your number 2. I think it seems pretty clear to me that Kentron is the number 2 guy on this team behind 14. And yeah, man, I thought he had a nice day today. He made some really good catches. He dropped a couple, and they had a lot of drops today. None by Johnny Wilson, I should say. But they had a lot of drops. Marquiston had a couple. Kentron had a couple. Vandrevius had a couple. He also had a couple touchdowns and red zone 7-on-7 because he's good. And look, the more I watch this wide receiver core, at least through April, the middle of April, I think Kentron has established himself right now as the number 2. And I'm just more and more convinced and secure in the thought that Vandrevius Jacobs is going to be a part of this rotation. He's just going to play. I thought he looked really good again today. Had a couple bad drops, but he's just he's different out there, man. So he's going to play, and it's awesome that he got here in January. That is a really big deal for this team, I think, or potentially could be.
News of the day, I buried it, though. Sorry about that, folks. It was in my head. I forgot about it, so I pivoted us to receivers. But Dmitri Emmanuel getting a 7th year?
Yeah.
Who says the NCAA isn't merciful? So Big Meech got his waiver approved. I think when we asked him today, he said that Coach Atkins called him yesterday before team meetings to let him know. So I think he knew yesterday that he had gotten the thumbs up. He was out there, full participant in practice.
Yeah.
When you saw him out there, I don't know, Corey. I mean, can't we just say that we saw 5 guys? Can I not say the 5 guys we saw playing offensive line at one point together?
Well, yeah, because they mix and match so much that you're not giving away any trade secrets or state secrets because they do mix and match a ton.
But man, they had Bless, Casey Roddick, Big Meech, Jeremiah Byers, and then whoever you want to throw in at center. That's significantly different. That's significantly more physically developed than we've seen here in quite a while, man. So to get Dmitri back out there, it was a real nice sight for that offensive line, and something that I think that maybe picked them up a little bit today.
I want to go back now that we know he's for sure on this team. I need to go back and count up all the starts for these guys. They have 8 guys on this offensive line that are multi-year starters. Like Bless Harris, I guess, he started at a smaller college, but he was the starting tackle for you in 2022 until he got hurt. So he's back. Obviously, Darius Washington's back, Maurice Smith, Robert Scott. Then you have Dmitri Emmanuel, who's back that you didn't even think you were going to get back, to go along with Keandre Jones, Casey Roddick, and Jeremiah Byers, who between them, those 3 guys have close to 100 starts just by themselves. I don't remember a Florida State offensive line or any position group with this much experience. I think you're legitimately talking about over 200, 250 starts for those 8 guys. That depth is pretty unreal. I think that's a big deal. We don't even know for sure. I think Dmitri Emmanuel is going to start. I think you could pencil him in. I mean, he was 3rd team All ACC this past year, but he's got to go earn it. Like, it's not given. Keandre Jones and Casey Roddick are here. Bless Harris is here. Like Byers is here. Like they've got guys. It's really remarkable what they've done. The transformation of this offensive line from what we saw 4 years ago, 3 years, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, till now is maybe the biggest difference in this program. It is truly remarkable, the difference that we see in that offensive line.
Yeah. Feel really good about the right side, man. I feel really good about with Byers and Emmanuel. Maurice will hold it down at center, and then the left side, whether, Robert Scott comes back fully into form once they got LSU on the horizon. And Casey Roddick probably playing the other guard spot. Like it's really good. And then you got Bless. You got Darius Washington you can go to.
Keandre Jones started 30 games in the SEC.
Yeah.
Julian Armella, he might be a backup. I mean, come on. Now, I think all Florida State fans were excited, and I think 99% of the Florida State football team was excited when the Dmitri Emmanuel news came down. I don't know if Keandre Jones was all that fired up. I don't know that he transferred to Florida State thinking their 6th-year senior guard would get a 7th year. But either way, man, he's here, and at worst, he provides depth. But he might. I mean, he's in the running for a starting spot as well.
Yeah. All right, let's get this party started, shall we? Z-Chan's here. I'm gonna drop it. Let's go, Z-Chan. A little bit of the
dollar bills, y'all.
Thank you, Z-Chan. Appreciate you, man. Offensive line has gone from worst position group in college football to one of the most experienced groups in college football. Amen, Corey.
Man, Z-Chan, I'll say this. This isn't hyperbole. I think you could argue it's one of the most experienced offensive line groups in the history of college football. You're talking about not just 5 guys that have played a ton of football, 8 guys that have significant college football starting experience. That's just not normal. Now, look, the portal works both ways, and maybe something happens after the spring. Emmanuel's news could be a domino effect, maybe, but I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that could happen. But either way, you've got 8 starters. You've got 8 starters on this offensive line. And hey, there's only 5 spots.
Thank you, Z-Chan. We appreciate you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you very much, Z-Chan. And it was cool that Alex Atkins got to be the one to tell Dmitri. How about that, man? He went through pro day.
Yeah.
Like how many? That's a first too, right? There's no other player in the history of Florida State that's gone through pro day and then played the next. I mean, and then 2 weeks later is back practicing. So, hey, Jamie, change your mind, dude. Change your mind and come back. Dmitri did it. Come on back.
Let's see here. Kayvon asking, who does Vandrevius Jacobs remind you of? Is it his route running or yards after catch that makes him different?
So the thing with the yards after catch is that's hard to quantify right now because they're not being tackled. He certainly looks to have the wiggle and the speed and the quickness to make people miss. But man, the route running and the smoothness, and I think we've said this a few times. I've compared the situations, but him specifically, I see some Rashad in him. The smoothness coming out of breaks. I don't think he's as polished as Rashad was. Rashad was generationally polished very early on. He was just really good very quickly. He was kind of ready-made when he got here, honestly. But I think he's got some of that in him. He's really smooth coming out of those breaks, man. He's really smooth. Yeah. And that burst. He's got that extra burst that I don't know that anybody else on the team has, on the offensive side of the ball anyway.
Yeah, I can't think of like a comp comes straight to mind with him, but I mean, for right now, it definitely is the route running. I mean, he's getting open, man. I didn't see him drop it today, but I take Corey's word for it. I'm trying to get the video uploaded of practice for you folks, so I'm not able to watch everything that's going on. I thought 7-on-7, 11-on-11, he did all right. Maybe
yeah, he did. He dropped a pass in one-on-ones, and then he dropped a fourth down pass in one of their drills, which the referee called it complete, but Norvell and we all saw it. It was incomplete. Norvell waved it incomplete. So Norvell was right there watching it, so he saw it. And it was funny. There was a play in 7-on-7 red zone. I'd say the ball was at like the 8-yard line. He catches a shallow cross and just does what he does. He hits full speed very quickly, makes a run to the pylon, and I think he gets in for a touchdown. But either way, he kind of reaches the ball out to try to get over the pylon for the touchdown, and Norvell's screaming at him to tuck the ball. So, again, even when he does something well, I think the head coach stays on him and really wants him to pay attention to the finer details and just wants to stay on him and make him uncomfortable, because I think the head coach realizes they have somebody they don't want to get comfortable because they're going to need him in September and October and November. I just think he's a part of their plans, man.
Yeah, agreed. How about our guy, Ed Lemix, DeLuna Coffee? How is Julian Armella doing? I don't hear much about him. He's, last year his season kind of got cut prematurely with an injury, and then he's kind of been in and out there this spring. So I think for him, it's a matter of just getting consistent reps so they can get totally comfortable with what's going on. But every time we ask about him with Coach Alex Atkins, he always has good things to say about him, always includes Julian when he's talking about all the guys that he does like. But in terms of like holding down something or looking special out there and just being a wall, I mean, that hasn't happened yet, but he's still a young guy, so I wouldn't lose hope. But there's guys ahead of him for sure right now.
And I would say also, once we watch the spring game, we'll get a bet. We can break down film of the spring game instead of just watching eyeballing practice and not getting replays. But I would suggest, Tom does a really good job. Tom Lang, our Warchant's own, the venerable Tom Lang, does a really good job of charting the trench stuff, the trench 1-on-1s and the trench 3s-on-2s during practice. And that will be up on our website here very soon. If you're listening to this on the podcast, it's already up. So go read that. I didn't get to watch Armella, but I'm sure Tom wrote about him today and will write about him again on Thursday. But I don't think any of us think he's in the mix to start unless injuries happen. But I don't think that's because he's a disappointment. I think it's because there's so much experience ahead of him. But man, with him and Lucas Simmons both now Lucas Simmons has been very impressive for a true freshman. You see, I mean, that's an NFL body. And he's got serious NFL potential. Him getting to spend the next, what are we talking about now? 8 months with that offensive line room, with that offensive line coach. It's just going to expedite that learning process so much quicker than normal. I mean, he's going to be around almost 2 full lines, a first team and a second team of starting offensive linemen that will just show him about how to be a college offensive lineman. You can't stress how important that is, overstress how important that is.
Look at Ed. He says, I forgot to add my contribution. Ed, it's not necessary, man. It's not necessary.
Yes, it is, Ed. Don't let Aslan tell you that.
But it's appreciated, man. We do appreciate it, man.
Tell Courtney we said hey, and we miss her. Hope to see you. I don't know if you'll be in town for the spring game, but the next time you are in town.
Thank you, Ed. Also say hi to Brett. We don't forget about Brett either.
But mainly say hi to Courtney.
That was Corey, not me. Scott Fells. Hey, guys. What do you think the chances of us getting a linebacker, safety, and a punt returner in the portal? I don't think they're going to get a punt return unless they play safety and maybe they've dabbled in it.
Yeah, or a wide receiver that dabbles in it. I think we talked about it on headlines.
Does Destin Hill count as a punt returner?
Who knows, man? Is Destin Hill count as a human being? We got to see it with our own eyes. Jeff and Tom and Ira talked about it on Jeff's show on Monday, and then we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday. I think a punt returner is like, if you're set everywhere else, sure, go for it. But you're not going to exclude a defensive end that could really help you to go get a punt returner. Number one, Micah might be back. You already might have one on the roster. Hopefully he heals in time. He was actually out at practice today for the first time. He wasn't, obviously he's out for the spring. He just had hip surgery, but he was actually out there dressed out watching things. But so, man, I would say linebacker and safety and defensive end are the things you would probably look for the most. Maybe, and Jeff keeps harping on this, and I tend to agree to an extent. Maybe if there's a really good wide receiver out there, you make a run at it. But you don't need, you want a wide receiver. You don't need a wide receiver. I do think you need another safety, another linebacker, and probably another defensive end. And you don't need a punt returner, but you'll take, if Greg Reed's out there, go get you a Greg Reed, I guess.
Well said. They'd have to be a really good wide receiver, in my opinion, to take a. You'd have to be substantial. And I just don't know if like that kind of guy is out there after a spring football practice where he's, bitter or something. Maybe that happens, but I think where you have to be in terms of your selectivity with a wide receiver, man, we've kind of probably crossed that bridge.
I think it goes to like, what do they think they're going to get out of Winston Wright? What's the prognosis with Micah Pittman? Because all of a sudden you might be thinking, okay, we might not have the depth we thought we had out here. And if there's a guy from a smaller school that had, 10 touchdowns last year, 1,100 yards receiving, maybe, you wouldn't say no necessarily, but yes, it's got to be worth it. It's definitely got to be worth it.
Yeah. I'm saying I wouldn't take a guy that caught 26 for,
correct,
483 at Northwestern. Like I wouldn't be in the,
you're not taking a depth piece, right? You're taking a difference maker.
No.
That's what you get at wide receiver.
Listen, man, Deuce, Kentron, Darion, one of you guys figure it out. Like figure it out on a consistent basis, day in, day out. Go out there and make it obvious that you're right there behind Johnny Wilson. You're the number 2 guy. Because I think slot-wise, they'll be all right, man. I think Vandrevius or Ja'Kai or, hopefully Winston keeps marginally getting better. I think mostly probably here right now, make them feel good about it. They'll be all right. And the tight end situation, they got the backs coming out of the backfield. They got so many weapons. Watching practice, seemingly I can't even compute the amount of success they've had on just simple running back release out the backfield swing pass. Just seemingly whenever the first read's not there, pressure's coming at Jordan. He's like, oh, boop. And I'm talking to Ira. I'm like, dude, this is getting ridiculous that they constantly can keep doing that. He's like, yeah. He's like, but hey, it was like a 3rd and 11 situation they just ran. I'm like, oh, okay. Very next play, finally the linebacker does get on the running back. Well, then the tight end is wide open in the middle of the field. And you're like, yeah, that's just kind of what they are right now. Like they really are a pick your poison kind of attack. So,
and then you're always going to have 14 out wide.
Yeah. That's right. All right, let me see here. All that talking, I wasn't able to read these questions thoroughly. Greg Turner, how do Omar Graham and DeMarco Ward look?
So Graham's been pretty good for the spring, but I thought DeMarco Ward, in my opinion, had his best day today. He made a couple of flash plays. He had an interception last week, but today he had a really good run fit on a cutback. Rodney Hill sped to the right, and then there was a crease, and he cuts back to the left. And it's Rodney Hill, man. He can go. And it's all the way it's set up. You're like, oh, this is going to be a cutback, and this is going to be wide open for a 60-yard run. And no, 31's right there waiting for him. A really good read for him to kind of go along and then stop, see what Hill's going to do. That's some natural instinctual stuff that is good to see for a kid that, obviously wasn't a 5-star super duper recruit. That was a good look. I've liked what I've seen from him. He also had a tackle for loss a few minutes after that. Now he's obviously not running with the ones a lot of the time. So you're not seeing him against the best lineman that Florida State has to offer. But I think DeMarco might be a player, man. We'll see. But so far, so good. He has not looked out of place at all. I think he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't have very high expectations for him, especially year one this early. But, he's one of the guys that Norvell said that they just trust their evaluation on, and he's had a pretty solid day today, and he's had a couple moments in previous practices where we're like, all right, he's not out of place. Like he's kind of fitting in nicely here. So makes you excited for what he could possibly be. And to Corey's point as well, yeah, I think Omar's had he's been out there a lot. He's had a lot of reps, and he's done all right. So those guys, 3-star linebackers, shoot, they might end up being part of your core moving forward after Bethune and Deloach. And
DJ Lundy too now. DJ Lundy's had he wears number 10 now. It just looks better on him. He looks faster and sleeker. But yeah, man, I think he's had a pretty good spring too. He's definitely he's certainly better than he was 2 and 3 years ago.
We are live here on YouTube. If you could hit the thumbs up, we certainly would appreciate it. Taking your questions here on Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Also, our good friends over at Vitamin Energy, who have hooked you folks up with the promo code Warchant BOGO. That's BOGO, Warchant BOGO. It's above my head for this entire show if you're watching us in live living color. But check out the website, vitaminenergy.com. Add anything to your cart. Put the promo code Warchant BOGO in there. You'll get an item for equal or lesser value for absolutely free. There's so many different varieties, flavors. Can't go wrong. They got the 8-hour sleep. Not that you need that to go to bed after taking the 8-hour the Vitamin Energy. You'll be good. Just don't take it at like 5 in the evening or whatever. Or maybe take a half shot if you're a lightweight like me, and you'll be totally fine. But they've got all that over at the website, vitaminenergy.com. There's no sugar. There's no sugar crash. 7 hours of energy. More, I think. Again, I told you what happened to me Friday. Drove down 7 in the morning. Took a shot at 10. Was good until midnight. You do the math. I'm not the math major. Try it out. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code is Warchant BOGO, BOGO. We'll probably give some of the swag out, too, if you come out to the JCS Warchant Golf Tournament on Friday, everybody. So be on the lookout for that.
Or the live show on Friday at Corner Pocket. I think we're going to have some Vitamin Energy swag and just, bottles to give away.
Yeah. Check it out. VitaminEnergy.com, Warchant BOGO, BOGO. You know what also gets me fired up, Corey?
When I see guys like James B dropping the bag. What?
200. American. James B. Pillar. Right there,
Pensacola's finest. Pensacola. Well, Ed, we got a lot of Pensacola. Derek Brooks. There's a lot of Pensacola ties to Florida State. He's one of them, though. Old James B., man. You are the best, buddy. Thank you very much for that. Can't wait to see you either.
Ask a question, man. James B. is excited for this weekend, the Garnet and Gold Spring Showcase. I know Corey said it was a game, or we're going to be able to watch film of the game. They'll have some 11 on 11, I'm sure. They're not going to make you folks drive all the way up there just to watch them throw one-on-one passes, but I don't know. I think it probably will be just like a practice, right? And they might have just a little bit of a competition element thrown in there, but I think it's going to be kind of what we've seen most of this spring.
I think the difference will be, and I don't know how much tackling is going to be done. I do think the difference will be they won't just do 3 first down plays and then move on, or 3 third down plays and move on. I think there will be drives. They want these offenses. They want these defenses. They certainly want the quarterbacks to work actual drives. So I do think it'll be like a scrimmage in that sense. I don't think it's going to be like, 30 minutes of one-on-ones and 20 minutes of 7-on-7. I think it's going to be real 11 on 11. It just won't be, what you'll see in Orlando Labor Day night. Not Labor Day night, Labor Day Eve.
Thanks again, James B. You're the man. You're the man now, dog. How about our guy, Bakari, BK, some might call him. Can you guys tell us how the other tight ends are doing other than the big 3?
Nice.
Raheem, Kyle Morlock, and Marquiston. Who looks like they will be ready to contribute next year?
I mean, my first guess, and it's not so much of what we've seen, it's just the way they talk, is Jarrell Powers. I think that's the next guy up. That's the guy they bring him up unsolicited all the time. And when you watch him run, it's impressive. Sometimes you kind of get confused because the 8-9 and the 8-8, you're like, okay, was that Powers or was that Portier? Which is a good sign for a tight end that you confuse him with a wide receiver. And so I think that's the guy. Everybody else, I just don't know. I don't know what they'll end up being. You guys know that I was high on Brian Courtney last year. It's just the spring, though. It's just the spring, but it doesn't look like he's made a leap. but it's also just the spring. So we'll see. We'll give him a full year. Let's see what he looks like in August. And even then, it'll be too late to determine his future. It's just he might not have made the jump to be ready to contribute as quickly as we were hoping. But I think Jarrell Powers is the guy that in 2024 will be the name you hear a lot and read about a lot.
If they played a game tomorrow, Corey, do you think Kyle Morlock is ahead of Brian Courtney? Like in their eyes?
Yeah. But I think the other two are 1 and 2.
All right.
And also Bell, I think Bell, they'll use him in so many different ways. He is a tight end, but he's not a traditional tight end. So there will be, Bell might be on the field in the slot. He might be in the field at running back. Who knows? And another tight end will be on the field with him. So it's not, he's the Swiss Army knife where they're going to use a bunch of different ways.
Some might call him a 3-back. Spartan Knowles 71 is our guy Ralph out there in Hawaii. Aloha. How's it, Ralph? With the improvement on the offensive line and the pass catchers, is linebacker the new weak link?
But
I mean, safety?
It's close. But understand, weak link, it's just that doesn't mean it's a weak part of the team. It's just you have a bunch of very strong position groups. This one is the lesser of whatever, 6 or 7 position groups. But calling it a weak link makes it sound like they're not good football players. I think Tatum Bethune and Kalen DeLoach that's a solid linebacker. It's a solid link. How about that? It's not a good link. It's not a great link. It's a solid link. And so I think those guys are good football players. I think DJ Lundy is a pretty good football player, perhaps. But yes, when you look at the rest of this team and you're wanting at a position or two, I think linebacker and safety are those two, with linebacker being the most. But also, you only play 2 of them at a time anymore. This defense only plays 2 linebackers most of the time. So, it's not the end of the world to be average or a little bit above average at that position. You'd like to be great. I don't know if you can be great everywhere. You're already great at quarterback. I think you're really darn good on offensive line and defensive line. I think you're good at cornerback. I think you're good at receiver, and I think you're really good at running back. You're good all over the place. But yes, linebacker and safety, you want a little bit more. That makes sense, or am I being too...
I'd be very diplomatic. Dad Corey's coming out.
Yeah, that's a participation trophy, Corey.
I was going to be a smarty pants and pop this question up and just be like, no. But now that we're talking about these positions, I think maybe that's the answer. Derek Neal asking, with the exception of Jordan Travis, is there one guy we cannot lose in order to win the ACC? And I don't know there's one guy, but there's positions, and it's the positions we talked about, right? If Tatum Bethune goes down, that is not good. If Shaheem or Akeem were to go down, that's not good. Do you not win the ACC because of that, though? I don't think so, though. I don't think they're at that level.
To me, I think the answer, and I get what you're saying there, but I think the answer is Verse or Johnny Wilson. Because if you lose Jared Verse, all of a sudden you're not good at defensive end. You're pedestrian at best. Patrick Payton might be a player, but that's only one guy. Jared Verse is a potential first-round pick, and he wrecks defenses, or can. Same with Johnny Wilson. He just wrecks defensive game plans. You can't do anything with him. So I think those two are, I know those are really easy answers, but I think you have so much depth everywhere else offensive line, like Jeremiah Byers is a very good player, but you could withstand that loss. You could withstand the loss of like Braden Fisk or Fabian because you have good guys behind them. You don't have another Johnny Wilson and you don't have another Jared Verse. That's all. That's my thought.
Well said. Yeah, Johnny would that change
be a big one
of things.
Yeah,
for sure. Our guy Kyle, get down or lay down. Spring is upon us. Do you see yourselves having a sports spring fling with any of these new to the program players? That being that you're interested and want to see more, but you're not ready to commit.
So we like them. There's something brewing. There's some chemistry there, but I don't know if she's the one kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
is that what this is asking?
Yeah.
Aslan, you go first. You have more history with that than I do.
Hey.
I dive in pretty quickly.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, usually if I like a dude, I'm like, all right, that guy's going to be a good player. Like I'm pretty sold on it pretty quickly. I'm not like a very need to see more data kind of approach. I don't want to go like to the kicker situation.
Mm.
But I think, man, I don't know, maybe Shaheem. Like I do want to like Shaheem. I want to think that Shaheem's going to be able to pick up most of the slack left behind by Jamie Robinson. But probably need to see some more stuff.
Yeah, but he's not one of the new to the program players.
Oh, all right.
I got my answer.
All right, you go then.
And we talked about him today at practice a little bit, Tom and Jeff and I. Fintrell Cypress.
Yeah. I
have not seen. Now, he's a guy that's played a lot of football that maybe doesn't take spring as seriously as other guys. It's his fourth or fifth spring. He's played a ton of college football. He knows, the sport and the conference, but has not had a great spring. And
yeah.
I would like to see. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to start. Obviously, he has the potential to be very good. He's proven he's good, but he has not proven it to me over the last 5 weeks. So I'd like to see. So I'm not ready to commit to Fintrell Cypress yet.
That's funny because I've been kind of critical about his play, but I thought today I saw in one-on-ones he was all over Deuce. It was Deuce on Deuce crime, Deuce Cypress on Deuce Spann. But I don't know if Deuce Spann is one of your top 5 wide receivers right now, so maybe that's not the best barometer.
And then he also got beat earlier in that drill for a touchdown, I believe, and then also late in the 2-minute drills, at the end of practice, he gave up like a 35-yarder to Portier, which really didn't compete like I want to see my all ACC caliber cornerbacks compete. So just throwing that out there, folks. I obviously he was very coveted, and he's proven he can play at a high level in this conference. But I would not say he's played at a high level so far for me. But maybe he's waiting until the lights come on Saturday.
I thought he was in on one of the interceptions today. Like he was part of the traffic jam. They got a ball tipped, and then who picked that ball off?
Duke, Omarion Cooper did.
Yeah. So there is that. But no, Corey's got the right answer. It is probably Fintrell Cypress. Thanks for the question, Kyle. Appreciate you, man. Our guy Wes. I think he said he'll be at Indigo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do you guys expect to shine the brightest on both sides of the ball? I guess let's give them one offense, one defense on Saturday. See you at Indigo. Go
Noles. Let's say Rodney Hill. I think he'll get a bunch of at-bats. I think they kind of know what they got in Benson and Toafili. They want to get Rodney Hill some work. And then on defense.
That's so tough, man, because I don't know if they're going to just make it thud. I don't know if they're going to bring him to the ground. I think Renardo will compete well, though.
I like Renardo a lot, man. I meant to bring him up when I was just talking about Cypress. Like, he gave up a pass to Deuce today. Deuce made a really nice catch and adjustment. But that was all Renardo gave up the whole day. And he doesn't give a lot up this spring. He is just a really good college cornerback. He has turned himself into a very good college football player. And I would it's the truth. He's been the best DB that Florida State's had this spring. And I don't think it's even been all that close. He's just been really, really good. And I just want to give him a shout out. So yeah, Renardo's a good answer. He's a quality football player.
Ray Pereira, quality human being. Let's
amen.
Go. What? Ray! What are you doing? It's Ray Pereira, everybody. 299, decimal point 99.
With a vengeance. Ray Pereira's back with a vengeance.
Pillar. He's a pillar. Ray, man, shoot, he was in the sports epicenter in Houston there a few weeks ago. Ray, great to see you, man. Aslan and Corey are my Forever Warchant faves.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Sorry if this was addressed, but I have not heard anything about Stephen Dix. Great job, gentlemen. Go Noles. He's out there.
He's out there, yeah.
Yes, I mean, yeah, you make it sound he's all right. I think he's actually had some moments that, I don't know, again, maybe it's where expectations are for me, him coming off an injury and some of the guys that maybe they've over-recruited over him. But, I mean, he seems like he's sold out and he's still out there giving full effort, man. the way he looks. You want him to play the way he looks. Those aren't converging probably in the way you want it to happen. So if he was like your dark horse guy to come out of nowhere and like maybe finally live up to his potential or what we thought as a recruit, probably need to wait a little bit longer on that. But he's part of the mix out there when they go to second and third team guys. And it's crazy the drop-off, Corey. I was telling it to Ira today, man. When they go good on good, they've got a lot of good college football players on the field. When they start bringing in, guys that are not part of that sort of, designation, especially on defense, there's a significant drop-off in the amount of scholarship guys they have out there on the field. It's wild. Well,
they got some guys coming in June and in the summer, obviously, and then there's obviously things we can't talk about going on the exercise bike and stuff. So there is that. I do think the 2 deep is pretty good. I would not say if we're going with the 4-2-5 defense, the nickel defense, which is what they play primarily, I don't think Stephen Dix is on the first 2 teams. And that's not anything that's been said. It's not anything I've even noticed because he does come out there a lot and play with different. I don't think he's one of your 4 best. I'm not sure he's one of your 5 best. I think that honestly, and I'm not trying to kill the kid. I think DeMarco Ward I've been more impressed with DeMarco Ward and think more about his future than I do Stephen Dix. I don't know. And Stephen Dix I feel like he's gotten a little bit quicker and a little bit faster. He did some stuff to his body, I guess, but it's still not, in my opinion, in 2023 college football, quick and fast enough to do what a linebacker needs to do. But I don't know where else you put him. I just, that body type, that physicality, and, he can run straight ahead pretty well. But what do you do with a guy like that? I think he's a liability in coverage. And most linebackers are, but he really is. So what do you do with a body type like that? There aren't, just like there aren't fullbacks anymore, really. There aren't a lot of linebackers that look like him or that move like him. In 1994, he'd have been your Mike linebacker. Well, it's not 1994 anymore, so I don't know. I hope it works out for him. I hope he figures it out and becomes a contributor, but he just hasn't done anything, overly impressive this spring.
All right, that's fair. Bummer of an answer to a great question from a great guy, though.
Right, it's all right, Ray. Hey, we appreciate it, buddy. I'll say anything about Stephen Dix you want me to. He looks like the next Marvin.
Oh, man. Let's see what else we got here. Hey, folks, if you could hit the thumbs up, we really would appreciate it as we kind of hit past the halfway point of the show. But if you could, just pings the video out there, lets folks know that we're up here tap dancing for y'all, trying to entertain people. So
it's the least you could do. Well, not Ray and James B and the like. You guys have done enough. You don't have to hit it, but everybody else, come on, help us out one time.
The Nolway 23. Would AJ Duffy improving enough to pass Tate Rodemaker for second string actually be a good thing? No.
I would like to respond in what regard? Like, why would that be a good thing?
Because Tate, do they think
Tate would
AJ's
leave?
more athletic? Yeah, I don't know.
Look, he has not done that. If that's I know that's not the question, but he has not done what that question, the premise of that question. And in fact, Brock Glenn had a really good day today, in my opinion. I thought he made some really impressive throws in one-on-ones and a couple in 7-on-7. And I think that's a battle. I'll just say that. I don't think it's a battle for number 2 right now. No.
But he ain't going away, man. Tate Rodemaker's not going away, everybody.
Yeah, and maybe that's the premise. That's the premise. But look, and it's way too early to give up on somebody like AJ Duffy. He's literally in still his first calendar year of college football. But, he's not, in my opinion, he's not close to Tate Rodemaker right now. He's just not. Now, let's see what it looks like in the spring game. And keep in mind, they do work with different groupings. And it's not apples to apples. They don't say, all right, Tate, you work with these 10 guys for 3 snaps. Now, AJ, you go work with these 10 guys for 3 snaps. I'm just telling you, in the spring so far that I've seen, the gap between 2 and 3, and I've said this before, I think the gap between 2 and 3 is as big as the gap between 1 and 2. So but again, AJ quarterbacks improve all the time, and he is better than he was last year. Yeah. So let's hope that keeps the improvement keeps growing and it starts it picks up a little bit, the pace.
I don't want to like nitpick this like question or whatever, but it would almost be like, would Byron Turner improving enough to pass Patrick Payton for second string actually be a good thing?
Well, I think maybe the thought is that you don't want to lose Duffy to like transferring. Maybe
I think it'd be like thinking that AJ Duffy's ceiling is higher. So if he actually passes Rodemaker, is that like a good thing now? That doesn't happen by him zipping by Rodemaker. Like Tate would have to. The only way that he could jump him is Tate would have to drop his level of play. So no, it would not be a good thing.
And I don't know. I know he's only been in school for a year. I don't know that his ceiling is higher than. There's been nothing so far that we've seen, and we get to watch a lot of it, that would make me think his ceiling is higher than Rodemaker's. Now, I don't know how high his ceiling is either, but I know he's got the stronger arm, and I know he's faster. Now, there's so much more to playing quarterback than a strong arm and being fast, but Tate's got that going for him. He's a better athlete, in my opinion, and he's certainly got a stronger arm. He's got the strongest arm on the team, and he's done it on the road in a big moment. So I don't know. I don't know what Rodemaker's ceiling is. But right now, again, it's April 2023. So when AJ Duffy's accepted his Heisman in 2025, don't shoot the messenger. This was before he had done anything, but I have not seen enough from AJ to think that his ceiling is higher than Tate Rodemaker's.
Our guy Ray was saying, what's all the chatter about Deuce moving to safety? Well, I haven't heard that.
I hadn't either, and if that's happening, it wasn't happening today. He was catching multiple passes.
Yeah, no, I don't see that happening here. He did say also as well, Ray, so that we need to talk about the softball team. I guess maybe to wash the palate about the baseball team. Baseball up 3-0. Well, yeah, they got 3 in the top of the 6th. Let one go in the bottom half, and then in the 8th. Did what they do and just found another creative way to lose a baseball game, namely their pitching failing them badly in the worst times. I think there was 2 outs, runners on second and third, and they decided to try to pick off the runner at second. And the ball went into the outfield, and that brought in a run. And then after another walk, I don't know how many free passes they gave away, 3-run home run, and that's a wrap. And at no point, actually, I'm going to lie. For whatever my cynicism is in overall life, when it comes to FSU baseball, I try to keep hoping that something's going to happen. One of these years it'll be our year. Some spark will happen and turn the season around so we don't lose all these great streaks that we have. But I mean, no lead is safe. There's no lead that Florida State can have right now that you feel safe about, right, Corey?
You said it, brother. Lulu on the way home from practice, and they brought in a really big spot in the 7th inning. I think was second and third, or maybe the bases loaded. They brought in the freshman, Jamie Arnold. And they're like, oh, and Arnold's pitched whatever. This is his 13th or 16th appearance. He's got a 6.69 ERA. And I'm like, think about where Florida State is against Florida with a 3-1 lead in the 7th inning, facing the nation's leader in home runs, which is what the situation was. You bring in a lefty with a 6.69 ERA. That's your best option at that moment. Now, he got out of the inning. He got out of the jam. He got the ground out. But that tells you everything you need to know about Florida State baseball in 2023. Their best option, after a good start from the Barrett kid, was Andrew Armstrong, and I don't know what his ERA is, but it ain't great. And then, Jamie Arnold, who I think is going to be a good pitcher in college, but he's got an ERA around 7. And then, Doug Kirkland, whose ERA isn't great either. Meanwhile, I'm probably thinking whoever Florida brought in the 9th had an ERA better than 6.69. I think they got a few more horses to choose from in their bullpen. It's just an ugly, ugly, ugly season.
Meanwhile, Florida State's softball team, they are 32-7.
Yep, number 4 in the country.
Yep, 11-1 in conference. They got Jacksonville tomorrow or today if you're listening to the podcast, and then they got Virginia at home. So go out to the Plex, support them. Friday 6:00, Saturday 1:00, nooner on Sunday.
Yeah, you could go there before the spring game. You go tailgate, watch a little. Look, it's the best sport on campus going right now. It's not close. They're awesome. And we talked about them a little bit on headlines. There was a story that was written about Lonnie getting some national notoriety because how she's handled the pitching staff. She uses like legitimately 4 and 5 different pitchers. And the thought process being the way college softball is now, you can't just run out one girl every weekend for 14 innings. They will time her up, and if you give one lineup 9 looks at Catherine Sandercock, a good lineup is going to hit her and hit her hard, just like Florida State would if they got 9 looks at the same pitcher. So she's doing a lot of mixing and matching with different types of pitchers, and 4 or 5 really pitchers that have pitched a lot that they really depend on. So they're good, man. They're good. We hope Devin Flaherty's okay. I guess we'll find out more tomorrow when Lonnie talks about it.
Tom Hortner, freed from the shackles of Warchant prison. Welcome.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Corey, why did the Oklahoma and Georgia game get canceled? I didn't even know that was a game. Was that a game? Was that scheduled?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Boy.
Oh, there goes the camera. Yeah, just because Corey went to UJ doesn't mean he's tapped into everything going on.
I'm tapped into the Noles, man. All I care about is Florida State. I got blinders on.
Did you guys talk at all about hygienic, like products for discomfort on headlines?
So I told the story on headlines, so I'll tell it here too. I don't care. I've got no shame anymore. I've never bought Preparation H. I never in my life. The one time I decide, and look, it's not a crazy flare-up, gang. It's just more precautionary in case something happens. I don't want y'all thinking about me doing stuff like that. So don't worry about it. Get your mind out of the gutter. But anyway, I buy that, hoping I'm at Publix. I buy my Mios. I buy that. I buy some protein bars, and I'm going to go walk to the checkout line right when somebody in the express lane says, "Hey, I'm a big fan of the show. I listen to you on Warchant all the time." I think her name was Sharon. I think it was Sharon or Sherry. And that's when I have to do a right hand. I say, "Oh, thank you very much," but I do not want her to see what I'm buying. I don't want to stand behind her and have a 3 or 5 minute conversation as she sees that I'm buying Preparation H. So I go away for 3 or 5 minutes, come back, and there's a woman in between us now that's in the express lane with, I counted 25 items.
Oh.
And the 10 items or less. So that was fun. And if I just wouldn't have been embarrassed about what I was buying, I wouldn't have had to wait on this old lady. Sorry, this older lady. I'm an old man. She was an older lady. I wouldn't have had to wait on her to scan 25 items. I could have just gone. But I was embarrassed, but apparently not too embarrassed to say it now on 2 different podcasts. Goopy.
I'll jump in there with you.
Okay.
Pro tip. If you like using wet wipes out there, some people like using wet wipes.
I do.
Preparation H actually makes like a wet wipe. That is a significantly better product if you're in that marketplace. That's all I'm saying.
Well, they're not a sponsor. We should get them as a sponsor, but they're not a sponsor right now. That's just out of the goodness of Aslan's heart.
After that. Hey, look at this guy. Justin Polk. Have we crossed paths before? He just dropped 50 American on us and says, "I'm currently watching at work." I shouldn't have said your name out loud. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Come on.
Pustin Jolk.
Yeah.
He'll see us Saturday, he says. I have to go be productive. Go Noles.
All right, Justin. Thank you, buddy. Man. Hey, good to have you around. Don't be a stranger. And you obviously don't have to drop money every time, but next time ask us a question at least.
I'm scrolling up because I thought I saw that name somewhere here earlier. As I look for his name on here, our guy Robert Nubs Up, shout out to our guy Robert Clifton, was asking, how do special teams really look right now, Corey? How legit do they look? Returns, kickoffs, all the good stuff.
No idea. And I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not going to say that you can notice something. I'm not going to lie and sugarcoat it. We have no idea because they don't go live in front of us when it comes to returns. They work on blocking assignments, but today all the kick returners, they worked on returns, but they're not being tackled, and they're kind of, once they get to the 20 or 25, they just start jogging. They're not hitting holes. So you just don't, it's hard to know because you don't see them actually return against people trying to tackle them. So I don't know. The one thing we can tell you is about the kickers. And today was not our man Tyler Keltner's day. We saw in the live portions of practice, he had a 52-yarder, 53-yard attempt that I would say went 48 yards. It went to the middle of the end zone, didn't get there. It was short and right. It was not hit well. It was ugly. And then at the end of practice, when they did their 2-minute drill, they got down to the 29-yard line, I guess. So it was a 47-yard attempt. And he missed that It looked significantly right, and also it barely had enough leg to get there. So he just was not hitting it well today. I think he can. We've seen it. But his leg strength, for whatever reason, was not there today. He did not hit it well today. If Fitzgerald had a 50-yard attempt that we saw, and he smoked it right down the middle into the net. So that's just our report from today. But as far as returns, it's just impossible. It's impossible to say because they're not interested in really trying to tackle right now.
Justin had asked earlier about what's going on with Josh Burrell, ? Position change, ? He's out there, just, he's present and accounted for.
Yeah.
That's what we can say. Thanks for the $50 though, Justin.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Maybe next time a question will intersect more with something I can intelligently talk about. But we appreciate the heck out of it, man. I hope work's going all right. Gator Kirk says some of this baseball season lies with Link. A Notre Dame weekend starting pitcher was in the portal this summer, and he could not land him. If he wasn't an FSU grad, would he be given so much patience?
Well, I don't know what the patience means. I mean, I know Gator Kirk, you're a rational, reasonable person. You're not wanting him to be fired in the middle of his first season. That wouldn't happen. I'll say this now. I'll go on record. Some of this is on Link. This is not just, he's doing the best he can. He has not done a good job with this team. That is absolutely clear. I think he's proven he's a very good college baseball coach. He has not been a good coach this season in any way, shape, or form. You can't look at the way they played the first 3 weeks of the season, 11-3. I know TCU isn't really a top 10 team. That's been proven, but they go on the road and beat TCU 2 out of 3. And so they started out 11-3, and now what are they, Aslan? 13 and I don't know, 20, 19. So this has been an all-time awful stretch for Florida State baseball, and it's his team. I know they're not all most of them aren't his players, but I think he does deserve some of the blame. I think he made a mistake in bringing in so many freshmen and not hitting the portal maybe as hard as he should have. And we talked about that on headlines today. And, Jeff and Ira brought up that by the time he was hired, most of the portal pieces were gone. And I just don't know that that's true because he was hired very soon after the baseball season ended. So I don't know how many of the great portal guys were already in the portal and out of the portal when their seasons ended in early June. He just, this was a miscalculation. It is a bad baseball team. He did not have much to work with with the pitchers, and they have not worked well with those pitchers. I think both can be true, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at the ERAs of the guys on this team that returned compared to what their ERAs were last year, and it's not a good look. All of them, as far as I can tell, other than Baumeister, all of the pitchers on this team that pitched at all last year are worse than they were, or they are worse now than they were then. So no, Link doesn't get a pass for how the debacle that this season has become. But we all understand that he just does not have a ton to work with. I mean, look at those numbers for crying out loud. Like
they're 13 and 19. Part of the answer lies within the question there, Gator Kirk, with, if he gets the kid from Notre Dame, whose name escapes, I think his first name was Jack. Could be wrong. But if he gets that kid and White Crowell is healthy, this team is probably still on track to do what they usually do. Not usually, what they always do. Have a winning season, go to a regional. So I think that might kind of factor into the way that we're processing this. But yeah, I thought there might have been a little more outrage around how bad they're playing right now. Because of Corey's point, man, I think now they've finally figured out that probably Friday is Baumeister and Montgomery. Like, just platoon those two guys and just try to win on Friday and then let the chips fall wherever they may the rest of the weekend. It shouldn't have taken them this long to kind of figure that out. Virginia, it burnt them. Virginia, Baumeister gave them a quality start, and they blew it by trying to rotate all these younger guys in instead of throwing the hammer down with their best guy. Not that Carson Montgomery is automatic, but, man, he's just ahead of everybody else. I just wish it didn't take him that long, and I wish White Crowell wasn't hurt because that changed the complexion of everything.
Look at those numbers though, Aslan. And again, you can't blame pitching. There's just not a ton of talent there.
Read some of the numbers for the podcast, people, Corey.
So that's what I'm going to do. So just for today, Ben Barrett started on the mound for Florida State, pitched well. His ERA coming into the game was almost 6. He gives you a good start. to try to get what would have been the biggest win of the season easily on the road at the number 3 team in the country with a 3-run lead. The next 3 pitchers you went to were Andrew Armstrong, ERA of 5.47, Jamie Arnold, who lowered his ERA to 6.59, and then Doug Kirkland, whose ERA is now 7.84. With the game, with a potential win on the road at Florida, you had a kid on the mound in that spot whose ERA is almost 8 because you just don't have anybody else to go to. That's the problem. Now, you could coach them better. You could call pitches better. You could sequence better. Sure. You also just need more talent, and they just don't have a ton of talent. They don't. That's being way too encouraging. They don't have near the requisite talent to compete at the level that Florida State needs to have. And that roster needs to change in a hurry.
And that's Talking Baseball with Corey and Aslan, everybody. Head over to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. You'll get an instant cash deposit bonus. Maybe you want to bet on the NBA playoffs. Maybe the RBC golf tournament that's coming up. Maybe baseball season, MLB. But we're all here for college football. There are your numbers. Again, Florida State, 21-1 odds.
Yeah.
What are you folks waiting for? Who's going to stop them? Who's going to score more than 35 on them? I don't know. That's why I would put money on Florida State if I were a betting man. And I am. Over at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Again, use that promo code WARCHANT. Gets you an instant cash deposit bonus. Anything else stand out to those numbers you see on there, Corey? Clemson's 13.5 to 1. USC 13 to 1. Now they got my guy Cliff Kingsbury as like an analyst. Lincoln Riley taking the Saban playbook out there. So anything else stand out to you there?
I would say this just as a public service. I know it's 64 to 1 Utah. I know it's plus 6,400, and you might be, well, man, why don't I just put $10 on that or $100 on that? You're just might as well light that money on fire and then just throw it in the forest. Like there's no point in it. Actually, don't do that. We don't want to start forest fires. But just light your money on fire instead, or give it to us, because that is a waste of money. Utah is not winning a national championship in football in our lifetimes.
Corey's right. Check out my book.
All the other ones you look up there, I think they all theoretically would have a chance maybe to make some magic. Not Utah. Come on, man. I gave up on them for good last September in the swamp.
Oregon as well. I mean, Oregon without Kenny Dillingham, what are they? They're nothing. They're a shell.
Good point.
They're a shell of them.
He built that program essentially.
All right, let's see here. Take maybe another question or two and get on out of here. Chris from Perry, have you seen anything from Dante Anderson or Jalen Early? I know Mike Norvell's seen something out of Dante Anderson. That's the back of his jersey,
right,
as he blows by him at the start of every single practice. Otherwise, just seems to be kind of a piece, part of the puzzle. Nothing that's been consistently great.
Right.
But, again, you've got time there. Jalen Early, check out maybe Tom's observations. I'm sure he's got some trench stuff with Jalen Early. He's another guy, Corey, you talk about when we talk about Jarrell Powers being kind of unsolicitedly brought up to us. Jalen Early is one of those guys, too, it seems like, when we talk to Norvell or Atkins about the offensive line, but nothing to where he's part of the good squad or putting people into dirt. But I'm not looking for that all that much, Chris.
And he's not. Something would have gone, honestly, something would have gone pretty horribly wrong if Jalen Early is playing a lot for you this year. He's not supposed to play a lot for you this year. That would be early, to pun intended, to get him on track to be contributing. But again, just like Armella, just like Lucas Simmons, these guys I think are the future of the line. And it's so beneficial that they get a full year with a really good football team, a great offensive line coach, and a lot of really good to pretty good offensive linemen that have started a lot of football. They get to, just by osmosis and being in that position group would be a really big deal.
We got some breaking news on the way out here. Not breaking if you're listening to the podcast, but Matthew Cleveland, pretty much the only lone bright spot of what's been a really bleak year, maybe 2 years if you want to be that salty about things, has entered his name into the transfer portal, Corey.
At 2, Matthew, at 2. Yeah, man, I don't think that's a stunner.
I mean, I don't. That's. I thought if he was going to leave, he would leave. Like try to go professional and make real money.
He's not ready. He's not ready. He doesn't shoot well enough to be an NBA wing player. But he can do that. And look, man, I think this is just the day and age of obviously. I know it's the day and age of college athletics. When you come to school as a fringe McDonald's All-American to a place that had been to the Sweet 16 the last 3 years, in your second year, you win 9 games, and one of them is because you hit a ridiculous buzzer beater, crazy shot. Otherwise, you would have won 8 games. I don't think you could. Like, he wants to go play at Carolina or Kentucky. He doesn't want to be a part of a team that wins 15 games, and it's not great. It's not a great look for Florida State, but I'm not stunned that he wants to go see what if the grass is greener somewhere else. And it will be, probably.
Yeah. Shout out to Parker WD for letting us know in the chat to pull it up. And then last thing here, Benny Robbins asking
That's
about
a Cleveland Steamer way to end the show. Good grief.
Preparation H, Cleveland Steamers. I mean, just what a great program we get to host. Duke Cooper, I feel like safety.
Yeah.
90%. I don't know. I mean, I can't remember last time seeing him in cornerback unless we want to talk about like one-on-one stuff. But when they do team 7-on-7, it seems like or am I allowed to say that? I just goofed.
No, I think it's safety. He's been moved to safety. I think there might be times maybe where they ask him to be a nickel, depending on, if they get caught in a different formation. But as far as I can tell, and Adam Fuller has said this, they moved him to safety. They cross-train a little bit with all of them. But no, I think, his primary position now is safety.
And hey, real quick, Corey, I'm sorry, I know we want to go. It's late. Can we just give Kevin Cash some kind of? I mean, I know our baseball team's struggling, but what he's done in Tampa is pretty incredible, right?
Did they win again tonight?
I don't know, but I just remember somebody telling me about this the other day, and I didn't mention it on any of our podcasts. So I just want to point that out, but maybe it'd be a bad time right up there.
I hope you're not jinxing it, but yeah, they've won their first 10 games.
They won 7-2.
So I think they're 11-0 now, and 10 of their wins have been by at least 4 runs, which is an all-time. I mean, this is an all-time streak, not just to start a season, just in general. An 11-game winning streak when you're blowing everybody out in Major League Baseball is nutty. They have the best pitching in baseball, and they're hitting a ton of home runs. So it's a good combination. Maybe will be their year.
He didn't leave. Maybe that's why he didn't leave to take the job up here.
I would think I feel like he knew he might have something this year.
All right, folks, if you could hit the thumbs up on your way out, we really would appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Jeff Cameron Show will be live 1 to 3 o'clock on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We got the golf tournament. We'll be live happy hour-ish over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Thanks to Justin, Tom, Ray, James. James, it actually on my end shows that you gave us $200 twice.
Yes, sir, James. That wasn't
I don't know if you did or not. I mean,
that's what you meant to do.
My goodness. Our guy Ed Lemmix and Z-Chan as well. So just in case James really did do $200 twice, I feel like I need to at least go. What? That's a wrap for us. We'll be back out at practice on Thursday. We'll do a Renegade Express for you folks tomorrow, Corey. Okay, Wednesday we'll record Renegade Express for the Thursday program. Then we'll do a show right after practice on Thursday for your Friday show. We're out of here. It's late. Thanks for hanging out with all of us. He's Corey Amazon. Thanks to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Vitamin Energy, MyBookie.ag. Stay connected to warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Have a great one, everybody.